Welcome to the Vector Garden. I've been asked about the additional tools in my toolbar that do not belong to the native Illustrator tools. These down here particularly, and those are plugin tools. And I'm going to create a couple of videos presenting them and presenting what they are doing that Illustrator can't do on its own. In this video, we're going to talk about plugins and tools that change the appearance of objects. Let's dive into them. I'm going to select this artwork, and first of all we are going to take a look at these tools here. So this is the stylism tool, and that is also the name of the plugin. We've got the Astute body here, and those tools belong to the Astute graphics suite of plugins. And they cannot only be applied to text, of course, but let's just do it with text. There are some effects from the effect menu, which you might use more often than others. And there are also effects in there that have a quite clunky interface. So you can apply them by just clicking here, and then we have a drop shadow, and then you see this is the interface, so you do not get an additional pop-up where you enter the values, but you can just move the sliders here and then change the opacity, and you see the shadow is not so prominent or more prominent. And we've got the blur editing like this, and then we've got the offset here, and also you can rotate that and get the offset in a different direction. Also here we've got the blend modes. And then the color down here. Clicking that again takes away the effect, but you can also click that and then apply additional effects. So let's add this one, offset path, and then you see down here we've got two effects applied. I'm now going to take away that one. And then let's also select a different color here. So I'm going to set that to gray, and now we see these controls better, and then you see we've got a control here, and moving it to the left will make a negative offset. And then you can also set up the rounding here. Let's get rid of that, and you see they all have a different interface that suits what they do. Now the nice one is this one here, the free distort, and you might know that interface of free distort. So let's click it here and then go to effect, distort and transform, free distort, and there you see this is the normal interface, and it's not very intuitive, and you often have to open that again in order to get it right. So let's cancel that and use it from here, and you just can move these elements in the bounding box, and you can also hold down the shift key to move them exactly vertical or horizontal, and then you have an exact movement of this free transform box. That's pretty nice. We can also add a transform effect, and then you see you can add more copies here, and you can also turn on or off scaling of strokes and effects, and then also move that. So let's zoom out of here so that we get this distance like this, and we can set that up as we need it to be. Let's just get rid of that again and get rid of that as well. Up here we have the raster effect resolution. Again, it's in this dialog box normally, but you do not have to open that. You can just set it up in here. This also has a menu where you can remove them or apply them, and it has this live effect explorer, and for that I'm going to apply something again. So let's have this transform effect and just set the offset here And then let's go to this Live Effect Explorer, and that you see we've got a list of those effects in here so that you see what is applied where. You can also see if it's applied to the layer or a group or whatever. Let's get rid of that and get rid of that. The next ones in that menu is the offset effect. It's a tool, but again, it also applies an effect. And you might think, well, what's the difference to offset path? Well, this is pretty nice because you can set up 9 steps. So let's apply that. And you see we have applied offset path a couple of times. And then we can go in here and you can set up a blend. So each of these offsets gets a slightly different color, and you can set up a lot of other options in there. Let's take a look at the appearance panel. Here you see it, and you see it's a live effect, which is quite nice because then it can be edited. Let's just close this here and then get rid of that here, because we want to take a look at the next one, which is the block shadow. And again, this is a nice one. It's the thing you usually do with a blend or hundreds of copies with a transform effect. And you know, when you do that, you got all these stair steps in that block shadow. But this one can do the block shadow with just one click. Let's set this to 0. So we do not have a gap. And if you zoom into here, then you see here we've got a nice and clean edge, just like this. And again, we can apply a color to this. So we have a different color. You can set up the scale, which is currently set up so that it's smaller here. But of course, you can also set that to 100%. And then we've got a nice working shadow. You can set up a blend mode for it and everything else, the opacity and whatever you want in there. So that's the nice block shadow. Let's take a look at the next tool. And for that, we are going to take a look at this tool here, the AG Color Select tool, this one, which is an eyedropper, but an eyedropper that is on speed, because if you move it over here, you see we've got a nice green color, but it has applied the color here. So this nice green color is not there. You see it exists only because there's an overlay. Illustrator cannot pick up that kind of color, but this tool can do that. Let's get to the next one, the Gradient from Art tool, which is nice as well. And you see we've got another panel here. Now this one is an image, just of a linked file. And if we use this tool on here, then you see I can drag over here and it picks up all of these colors in a gradient. Or these. You see, we've got the nice subtle gradient that you can then use in an illustration to match something that is quite difficult to pick up. We can also drag it over here and then have a gradient that matches this thing. So that's how you can use that one. And then the last tool I'd like to show you in this video is this one here, the Randomini tool. So we've got all these boxes here. I'm going to select them all. And then let's select this tool. And you already can see what it's doing. It's just throwing them around here. And you see we can rotate that and get different things. And rotate this here to get different values there. And then we can also scale them randomly, and we can set a random color and then also apply that and get this as a result. Randomini does not only come as a tool, but it also has effects. For those, I have grouped these objects, and then you can find the effects down here They're called Randomino. And there you can apply a color randomizer where you can vary different aspects of color in different ways. So you see there we get more variation if we set that to higher, and it has a couple of other options. I'm going to OK, because then we can see in the appearance panel there it is applied, and you can turn that on and off. Let's turn that off and we take a look at the next one. There we also have an opacity randomizer, and you see it works like this. It can be applied at grouping level, and you can set these options and then apply it inside the group. And it can also affect different kinds of art if that group does not only contain paths, but also different kinds of contents, and then you can apply it just to the text or just to the paths inside. And I can go to OK, and you see we've got the next effect applied. I'm going to also turn that off, and then we also have the movement, which is like this. Let's set this to a lower option, and then you see we've got this kind of effect in here. And then these objects also get distorted. And again, this is a live effect in the appearance panel. So you see, we've got only a couple of tools. Those were not many tools, but we have a whole load of additional options in our Illustrator workflows.